The house looked smaller than I remembered. Paint faded, curtains drawn tight like secrets. I stood in the doorway, suitcase in hand, breath held. Every wall whispered his name. Ethan. Photos of him lined the hallway like a shrine. Baseball trophies gleamed in polished rows. Smiles frozen in silver frames. I searched for my own face, but found only space where it should have been. Mom appeared first, her arms half open, uncertain. "Claire, thank God you're here." Her voice cracked, eyes red from sleepless nights. Dad hovered behind her, shoulders bent under invisible weight. I set my bag down, the sound sharp in the stillness. "Where are the case documents?" "In the dining room," Dad said, glancing toward the table. "But first, there's something you should know." Papers covered the surface, neat piles like crime scenes. Court filings, bank records, property deeds. My pulse quickened as I scanned the pages. "You put up the house." Mom twisted her wedding ring, avoiding my eyes. $600,000. The judge set bail this morning. I sank into a chair, disbelief hollowing my chest. "You risked everything for him." "He's our son. He just made mistakes." "These aren't mistakes," I said. "They're felonies." Dad's jaw tightened. He was desperate. The business was failing. A notation caught my eye. A transfer from their account to Ethan's bar. Not the $60,000 I knew about. An extra $45,000. "You knew he was in trouble months ago." Silence thickened between us like fog. "You helped him anyway." Mom's tears slipped quietly down her face. "We thought he'd fix it." "He always does." The words cut deeper than intended. Always. Always Ethan. Always forgiven. I rose from the table, needing air. In the living room, sunlight touched the mantel. My law school photo was gone. In its place, Ethan holding a trophy. My throat burned. "When did you take this down?" "We just needed space for newer pictures," Mom said softly. The quiet between us ached like a bruise. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Lucas's name lit the screen. "You okay?" "Barely." They mortgaged their home for him. He's guilty, and they still can't see it. "Remember your boundaries," he said. "You don't owe them a rescue." "I know." But saying it didn't make it easier. Back inside, the air smelled like old coffee and denial. Dad's voice floated from the kitchen. "The prosecutor called. Hearing on Tuesday. If Ethan breaks bail, you lose the house." "We had no choice," Mom whispered. "You always have choices," I said quietly. "You just make bad ones." Their faces crumbled under truth. I gathered the papers, each one a reminder of betrayal. "I'm going to review these. We'll talk tomorrow." Mom's voice trembled behind me. "He's still your brother." I paused at the stairs. "Yes," I said. "And that's the only reason I'm here." The visiting room buzzed with fluorescent light. Cold air pressed against my skin, sharp and sterile. A guard called his name. "Ethan, visitor for Ethan." My breath hitched as he appeared through the metal door. He looked thinner, paler. His hair uncombed, eyes bloodshot. But that same smirk still clung to his lips. "Hey, big sister," he said, dropping into the chair across from me. "You took your time." I didn't answer. I opened the folder on the table. Documents, statements, evidence. Everything that proved what he'd done. "You look terrible," I said finally. He laughed, leaning back. "Not everyone gets silk sheets and city views, Claire. You've got it all. Career, apartment, money. What more do you want?" I ignored the sting in his voice. "We're not here to talk about me." Wire fraud, embezzlement. $2.5 million missing. His smirk faltered. "It's not what it looks like." I pushed a bank record toward the glass. "It's exactly what it looks like. Transfers to offshore accounts. Cash withdrawals before your Vegas trips. He shifted, the confidence slipping from his face. You've been talking to the prosecutor. Someone had to, I said. Mom and Dad still think you're innocent. You always thought you were smarter than me. His tone sharpened. Always the golden lawyer. Perfect Claire. I kept my voice steady. No one gave me anything. I worked for everything I have. You, on the other hand, were handed everything. He leaned forward, voice low. You don't understand. I was going to fix it. I just needed time. Time doesn't unsteal money, I said. He clenched his fists. You could help me. You know people. You could make this disappear. I slid a document across the table. Plea deal, 18 months federal time. 3 years supervised release. Full restitution. He blinked, confused. You already talked to them. Yes, it's the best you'll get. Otherwise, you're looking at 10 years or more. He slammed his hand against the counter. I can't go to prison. You should have thought of that before you stole from retirees, including Mom and Dad's friends. He looked up, fear finally cracking through the charm. They'll lose everything because of me. You should have thought about that too. His voice dropped to a whisper. You owe me. I covered for you once, remember? I laughed, the sound harsh. I was covering for you. You were the one sneaking out that night. His mouth opened, then closed. Desperation replaced arrogance. Please, Claire, you can't just walk away. I stood, gathering the papers. Watch me. He called after me as the guard opened the door. We're family. The door slammed shut behind me. Outside, sunlight hit my face like truth. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for leaving. Only free. Dust clung to my sleeves as I opened the attic door. The air smelled like forgotten years. Boxes stacked high, labeled in my mother's neat handwriting. Christmas, taxes, Ethan's awards. I searched until I found a small box buried behind the rest. Claire's things. The cardboard was soft, edges worn thin. I dragged it into the light. Inside, fragments of my life lay tangled in old tinsel. My valedictorian medal. Debate trophies. A Harvard acceptance letter folded and creased. All the proof that I once mattered. I held the medal in my hand. The ribbon frayed, gold dull with dust. Downstairs, Ethan's trophies probably still gleamed under perfect lighting. Mom's voice floated up the stairs. Lunch is ready. The lawyer you recommended is coming at 2. I'll be down soon, I called. She appeared anyway, hovering at the top step. What are you doing with all that old stuff? Just wondering, I said. Why my medal is hidden in a box, while Ethan's sits on display. Her face fell. We meant to put them out. We just never got around to it. For 15 years. She fidgeted with her ring. Your father's on the phone with the financial advisor. He's trying to find money for Ethan's defense. Of course he is. I turned back to the box. Mom lingered, then slipped away. Beneath the papers, I found something else. A folder of financial records. Dad's meticulous handwriting filled every page. I spread them across the floor. College tuition. $175,000 for me. $230,000 for Ethan. First car. $2,000 used Corolla for me. $21,000 Jeep for him. Housing help. Nothing for me during the flood. $60,000 for Ethan's bar. 3 separate rent bailouts. The numbers blurred, but the truth was sharp. This wasn't just favoritism. It was a pattern. Years of proof that love had a price tag. I gathered the documents, my hands trembling but sure. Downstairs, their voices drifted from the kitchen. She's been up there all morning. Leave her be, Dad said. She'll come around. And if she does, Mom whispered, we could lose everything. She will, Dad replied. She's never let us down. I froze mid-step. Never let them down. They never even noticed when I was drowning. I walked into the kitchen, papers clutched to my chest. They looked up, startled. "We need to talk," I said. I laid the documents on the table. "These are your choices, laid out in numbers." Mom reached for the pages, hands shaking. "Claire, please, not now." "Now," I said. "I'm done pretending this family is balanced. At 6 tonight, a therapist will come here." Dad frowned. "We don't need therapy." "You need truth," I said. "And this time, it won't stay in the attic." The clock struck 6 as the doorbell rang. Dr. Sanders stepped inside, calm and composed. "Thank you for coming," I said, offering water. "Your message sounded urgent," she replied. My parents appeared moments later, tense and wary. Mom's lips tight, Dad's arms crossed. "Let's sit," I said, motioning to the living room. 4 chairs arranged in a circle. Directly beneath the wall of Ethan's smiling photos. Dr. Sanders began softly. "Let's start with what brings us here. We're a close family," Mom said quickly. "We just need to get through this situation." I placed a document in the center. "It's not just about this situation." Dad frowned. "What's that?" "Evidence," I said. "Financial records, 15 years worth. The difference between what you gave Ethan and what you gave me." Mom shifted, eyes darting away. "That's not fair, Claire. You had scholarships." "I worked 3 jobs through school. Lived in a basement with mold. When my condo flooded, you said you couldn't help. 2 days later, you wired $60,000 to Ethan. For his bar." Dad's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the paper. "We just wanted to help him get back on his feet. He needed us. And I did." My voice stayed level, but the words burned. "This isn't only about money. It's about the piano recitals you missed. The graduations you left early. The times you called me independent so you could focus on him. We thought you didn't need us," Mom whispered. "You were always strong." "You mistook survival for strength," I said. Dr. Sanders nodded gently. "This is progress," she said. "Hard truths are the beginning of healing." I took a breath, steady. "Here are my conditions. I will not fund Ethan's defense. I will help find the right lawyer. And we continue therapy. All of us, including Ethan when he can join." Dad leaned back, rubbing his temples. "This feels unnecessary." "No," I said, "this is necessary. It's the first honest thing we've done as a family." Mom wiped her eyes. "You've changed, Claire." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe I finally stopped pretending." Silence filled the room. The sound of the clock echoed between us. After a long pause, Dad sighed. "Fine, we'll do the therapy. But I can't promise it will fix anything. It's not about fixing, it's about understanding." Dr. Sanders smiled faintly. "That's a good start." When the session ended, I stood by the mantel. Ethan's photos still lined every inch. I took a small box from my bag. Inside was my old piano trophy. The one they'd forgotten years ago. I placed it beside his pictures. It looked small there, but it belonged. For the first time, the room felt balanced. Not perfect, but real. The courthouse loomed like a stone monument. Cold morning air clung to my skin as we walked. Reporters crowded the steps, cameras flashing. Dad's hand trembled on Mom's shoulder. "Stay calm," I whispered. "Let the lawyer speak." Inside, the marble floors echoed beneath our steps. Ethan sat at the defense table, pale and shrunken. No smirk this time, just fear. His eyes flicked toward me, searching for help. I gave him nothing. Attorney James Whitfield greeted us with a nod. "Everything's ready for the plea," he said. "Plea," Mom whispered, "not a trial." "He's guilty," I said quietly. "That's why we're here." Dad looked away, jaw tight. The judge entered, robes sweeping like a tide. Everyone stood. Then silence. The prosecutor rose, voice firm and clear. Your Honor, the evidence shows deliberate fraud. 2.5 million stolen through deception. Each word landed like a hammer. I watched my parents flinch. The prosecutor called the first victim. An older man, hands trembling as he spoke. I trusted him because of his family name. Said his father taught him honesty. Dad's shoulders sagged. Another victim followed, a woman near tears. He showed me pictures of his parents, she said. Said I could trust the Evans name. The weight of it filled the courtroom. Mom's quiet sob echoed behind me. Ethan stared at the floor, shame creeping across his face. The judge's voice broke through. Mr. Evans, please rise. He stood slowly, voice barely audible. I plead guilty, Your Honor. The courtroom held its breath. In accordance with the plea, the judge continued. 18 months in federal prison. 3 years supervised release. Restitution to all victims. The gavel struck once, sharp and final. Ethan turned, eyes meeting mine. A flicker of recognition passed between us. He knew this was the end of excuses. Mom reached for me. You could have said something. You could have told the judge he's not a bad person. I met her gaze. He's not innocent either. Dad tried to speak, but no words came. Outside, the reporters swarmed again. Microphones shoved toward our faces. How does it feel, Claire? I stepped forward. The Evans family acknowledges the harm done. Ethan is taking responsibility. Restitution will be made. No further questions. We walked down the courthouse steps together. For once, they followed behind me. The sun hit the pavement in sharp white light. Mom's hand brushed mine, hesitant but real. It wasn't forgiveness. It was understanding. I exhaled slowly, the weight shifting inside me. For 30 years, I lived in Ethan's shadow. Today, that shadow finally broke. And I walked forward, into my own light. A year later, the house smelled of cinnamon and sage. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen counter. I adjusted the flowers in the vase, crimson against the glass. Lucas moved behind me, brushing my shoulder. Your parents should be here soon, he said. I nodded, calm in a way I hadn't been before. The doorbell rang, clear and warm. When I opened the door, they stood smiling. Mom's hair silvered, Dad's eyes softer. Claire, she said, holding out a small portfolio. I found your old piano music in the attic. Thought you might want it back. I took it gently, surprised by the gesture. We drove past your firm on the way in, Dad said. Saw your name in the Tribune last week. That Johnson case, congratulations. His voice carried pride, not comparison. It felt strange and good. Come in, I said, leading them inside. The living room glowed with framed photos. Mine, Lucas's, even Ethan. All sharing equal space on the shelves. Mom paused, eyes glistening. You've made a beautiful home. Thank you, I said softly. Lucas handed Dad a glass of wine. They spoke easily, laughter light between words. Mom mentioned their new apartment. Smaller place, easier to keep up, she said. Your father's teaching financial literacy at the college. Dad chuckled, trying to help kids avoid my mistakes. For the first time, he sounded at peace. Lucas asked about Ethan. A pause, brief but gentle. He writes often, Dad said. He's learning carpentry in the program. Says he wants to start over when he's out. Next spring, Mom added quietly. Maybe he'll help with your foundation idea. Her tone held something new, respect. Dinner filled the room with warmth. Lucas raised his glass. Let's share what we're grateful for. When my turn came, I looked at them. At faces older but lighter. At the life I'd built without apology. I'm thankful for second chances, I said. And for hard truths. Lucas squeezed my hand beneath the table. Mom wiped her eyes, smiling. After dinner, she helped pack leftovers. Her voice trembled. I always thought you didn't need us. I was wrong. I smiled, no bitterness left. We both learned, I said. Before bed, I stood by the window. Snow began to fall outside, soft and slow. In the reflection, I saw the woman I'd become. Not the overlooked daughter. Not the rescuer. Just me. Whole. Strong. Free. The past hadn't vanished, but it no longer owned me. Somewhere miles away, Ethan was counting days. And I was counting blessings. For the first time, they almost felt the same. The night was quiet after they left. Snow blanketed the street in silver light. I stood by the window, watching it fall. Lucas wrapped his arms around me from behind. Everything feels different now, he whispered. It does, I said. Not lighter, just real. The glass reflected two faces, steady, unafraid. For years, I chased love that required proof. Now I understood it was never about earning. It was about choosing peace. Ethan's letters still came every month. Each one shorter, more honest. He was learning what I'd already found. Redemption doesn't erase the past. It simply stops it from defining you. Down the hall, the piano waited. I sat and pressed one quiet key. The sound lingered, fragile but whole. For the first time, it didn't echo emptiness. It echoed presence. I smiled, closing the lid gently. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, everything finally made sense. And I knew, with calm certainty, I would never go back to being unseen again.